All right, welcome to today's explainer. I've got to say, I am incredibly excited about this one because we are taking a massive journey today. We're going to completely transform how you operate. We'll start by fixing that scattered, overwhelmed mind of yours, move into how you actually build invisible but powerful wealth, and then we're capping it all off with the ultimate secret to deep, instantaneous human connection. If you've been feeling, stuck, distracted, or just misunderstood, you're in exactly the right place. So get ready, because we are completely rewiring your approach to work, wealth, and people. Let's get into it. So, let's kick things off with a question that honestly probably hits a little too close to home for most of us. Have you ever wondered why you're always so incredibly busy, but somehow you're never actually moving forward? Really think about it. You spend all day clearing notifications, firing off emails, jumping from one tiny task to the next. And by 5 p.m., you're completely exhausted. You proudly tell yourself, man, I was so busy today. But when you look at your real meaningful goals, like that business you want to build or that skill you want to master, you haven't moved an inch. See, we constantly mistake motion for progress, and that busyness, it's often just a super convenient way to avoid the deep, uncomfortable work that actually changes our lives. This brings us to a concept called attention residue, which is exactly why all that frantic busyness is so destructive. Every single time you pause what you're doing, just to check a quick message or glance at a notification, your brain pays a massive invisible tax. A literal chunk of your attention stays stuck on that message even after you go back to your main task. Your concentration gets weaker, your thinking gets shallow. Think about a master craftsman, like a blacksmith or a sculptor. They don't stop every 5 minutes to scroll through updates, right? No, they create value through deep, uninterrupted focus. In a modern world that's just overflowing with noise, the ability to focus without distraction is absolutely your ultimate superpower. Okay, let's take a look at this beautiful visual. When Lord Rama entrusted Hanumanji with the sacred mission of finding Sita Mata, he didn't waste a single second questioning himself or getting distracted by the scenery. He fixed his mind on one singular purpose. And because of that intense, unwavering focus, massive obstacles, the towering mountains, the vast oceans, the powerful demons, literally shrank in comparison to his determination. A distracted mind sees endless problems, but a focused mind discovers a path. So remember, your biggest battles today aren't out there in the world, they're actually inside your own mind. But here's the catch. Developing that kind of focus requires us to abandon our absolute favorite place in the world, our comfort zone. Every morning, your brain gives you a choice. Take the easy path or the meaningful one. Stay in your warm, cozy bed or get up and build your life. When you always choose comfort, your mind actually becomes fragile. Think about how a sword is made. A blacksmith doesn't leave steel in a cool, comfortable room. No way. He thrusts it into an intense, scorching fire and strikes it with a heavy hammer over and over again. That heat and pressure, they don't destroy the steel, they forge it into a blade. The discomfort you're constantly trying to escape is the exact fire you need to build mental strength. And that brings us to the profound difference between motivation and discipline. Most people just sit around waiting for motivation. I'll start when the weather's perfect, when I'm in the mood, when I feel inspired. But motivation is incredibly flaky. It's not there when it's pouring rain or when you're exhausted. Discipline, however, shows up every single day. Imagine a stonecutter hitting a massive rock. He hits it 99 times and absolutely nothing happens, not even a tiny crack. But on the 100th strike, the stone splits perfectly in two. Now, was it that last strike that did it? No, obviously not. It was the 99 uncelebrated, boring, disciplined strikes before it. Lasting success isn't built on fleeting moods, it's built on boring, relentless consistency. Section 1. Mastering Value, Strategy, and Invisible Wealth. To actually build that wealth, the absolutely crucial point is making the shift from a consumer mindset to a producer mindset. Look, every day you buy things, right? Coffee, apps, subscriptions. Consumers are constantly asking, what can I buy? Can I afford this? But if that's all you do, you're going to spend your entire life making other people wealthy. Producers ask a completely different question. They ask, what can I build? Imagine walking into a packed restaurant on a Friday night. A consumer just notices the delicious food, the loud music, and, the overpriced drinks. But a producer? They study the room like it's a classroom. They watch how orders flow from the kitchen, how the staff communicates, and they immediately start estimating the profit margins. They study how value is created. Because at the end of the day, money always follows value. Which brings us to a huge misunderstanding about money. We constantly confuse being rich with being wealthy. When a guy steps out of a luxury sports car, we just automatically assume he's successful. But getting rich is just about visible income. It's loud, it's flashy. Wealth is a completely different ballgame. Picture two people. One makes $100,000 a year, but spends $95,000 of it on luxury cars and designer clothes just to look successful. Every single dollar is tied up in debt. The other person makes $50,000, drives an old beater, lives simply, but quietly invests $20,000 a year. If they both lose their jobs tomorrow, that $100,000 earner panics immediately. But the $50,000 earner, they have time and peace of mind. Fake wealth is incredibly dangerous. And that brings us to one of the most powerful truths you will ever hear. Wealth is what you don't see. It's the luxury car you decided not to buy. It's the expensive vacation you postponed. It's that emergency fund quietly sitting in the background. The highest purpose of money isn't to buy flashy garbage to impress people you don't even like. The highest purpose of money is to buy your own freedom. It's the independence to wake up and know your time belongs 100% to you, to walk away from a terrible job, to take a risk without feeling desperate. But here's the really tricky part. The mindset required to get money is the exact opposite of the mindset required to keep it. Getting rich requires courage, taking risks, putting yourself out there, and just having immense optimism. But once you have it, staying rich requires suppressing your ego entirely. It requires deep humility and a total obsession with survival. You don't need to be the smartest investor making like 50% returns in one lucky year only to lose it all because you got arrogant. You need to be the boring, patient investor making 10% a year who stays in the game for decades. You avoid those catastrophic mistakes so that compound interest can actually work its magic. To survive and thrive in building this wealth, you have got to stop living in a state of reaction. Most people play checkers with their life. They just react to whatever is right in front of them today. You need to play chess. Think 5 moves ahead. Think of a master architect building a blueprint. They don't just show up to an empty lot with some bricks and start guessing, right? No, they draw a meticulous blueprint where every single wire and pipe is planned out before construction even begins. If you want to stop panicking every time life throws a curveball, you need to identify your next 5 actions, predict exactly what obstacles will try to stop you, and plan your responses in advance. Preparation turns uncertainty into total confidence. Section 2. Mastering others, empathy and connection. So, we all fall into these hidden identity traps when we interact with others. When our opinions become our identity, anyone challenging our idea feels like a literal physical attack. We become the preacher, defending our truth blindly, the prosecutor completely obsessed with proving others wrong, or the politician just saying absolutely whatever it takes to get a round of applause. But we need to become the scientist. See, a scientist isn't trying to validate their ego. They're genuinely searching for the truth. If you're driving with an old map and the road ahead is suddenly blocked by a massive landslide, you don't stand there arguing with reality just because your map says the road is clear. You courageously update your map. Your opinions are tools, not treasures. Let them evolve. And this scientific humility, it's the absolute key to navigating incredibly difficult conversations. Instead of walking into a tense room and immediately getting defensive, try using an accusation audit. Think of yourself as a brilliant, preemptive defense attorney. Before the other person can even voice their fears, you say them out loud. You say something like, "You probably think I'm ignoring your concerns, and it might even seem like I'm being completely unreasonable right now." By acknowledging their worst assumptions right up front, you instantly lower the emotional temperature in the room. They don't have to fight to be heard anymore. The tension just vanishes, and actual listening begins. And that brings us to the absolute core focus of today's explainer, the incredible insights from day 11 of our source material. This is the climax of our journey today. We've optimized our minds, we've planned our wealth, we've learned how to de-escalate conflicts. But how do we actually truly connect with another human being? How do you meet someone and, within minutes, feel like you've known them your entire life? I really want you to lean in here because the secret to instant connection completely contradicts what most of us have been taught. We've all been told that to connect, we need charisma. We need to be loud, impressive, and tell the absolute most interesting stories. So we talk, and we talk. But in reality, we're often just waiting for our turn to speak. True communication doesn't happen in the words. It happens completely beneath the words. If someone approaches you and they're speaking softly, carefully, maybe a little nervously, and you rush in loudly, booming over them with high energy, you weren't connecting. In fact, their brain immediately registers you as a threat. They feel completely unsafe. Why? Because you're operating on a totally different emotional frequency. Connection isn't about being impressive. It's about matching their emotional rhythm.
Imagine two tuning forks sitting on a table. If you strike one and the other one is tuned to the exact same frequency, that second fork will begin vibrating completely on its own. There's no force, no effort, just pure, natural resonance. That is exactly how human beings work. When you gently adjust your pace, your volume, and your energy to meet someone exactly where they are, they begin to naturally resonate with you. Familiarity breeds comfort, and comfort opens the door to deep trust. They feel truly, deeply understood. And I promise you, feeling understood is the most magnetic force in the human experience.
Wow. Okay, we have covered massive ground today. But we're not just going to leave this theory on the screen. It's time to take it into your actual life. I have a rapid fire series of micro challenges for you based on everything we've just uncovered, and I want you to start right now. First, I challenge you to put your phone in another room and do 90 minutes of pure, uninterrupted Hanuman level focus today. Second, the next time you buy a coffee, look around and think like a producer. How does this business actually make money? Third, check your bank statement and cut one single expense that exists purely to stroke your ego. And finally, in your very next conversation, be the tuning fork. Match their emotional rhythm before you even try to make your point. I want to leave you with this one lingering thought to take with you as you